Hello, Merry Christmas, and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. I think it's the 6th day of Christmas today, so Merry 6th day of Christmas. Oh, yeah, it is the 6th day of Christmas because I have an ad that I have to read about the 6th day of Christmas in a little while. If you don't know, Catholics celebrate Christmas for 12 days, and then some Catholics, because, I don't know, they're fancier than other people, go all the way till February 2nd, till the Feast of Candlemas. But so I get to wish you a Merry Christmas for several more days. All this week, we've been having special shows, and this one is the specialist of the special shows, mostly because it's last. This is the last day of the year that we will be on the air here, and so we do a big summation where we do the stories of the year, the person of the year, the pro-life story of the year, all that kind of stuff. And to help us do that, we have the flannel panel. First up, Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, looking very sharp in his flannel. Hi, Chris.
Thanks for having me on, Cy.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you on. Do you feel prepared? Did I prepare you? Because one complaint that you have is that I don't prepare you adequately.
I did see the questions 5 minutes before.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Very
full disclosure, it was sometime yesterday afternoon.
Okay. And our other member of the flannel panel wearing flannel today. All three of us in flannel. We pretty much missed that the last few times.
Not only in flannel, in the same color flannel.
Yeah, we're all matching up. Joe Heschmeyer, of course, apologist here at Catholic Answers, the author of a lot of books with a lot of titles. Hi, Joe.
How you doing?
Good.
So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can see the show.
Yeah, you can see that we're wearing flannel. And I believe we started calling this flannel panel, which is what we usually do with flannel panel, is about once a month we get together and we talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. But I think we started calling this flannel panel in honor of Joe, right? And then he forgot to wear flannel several times.
Did I coin flannel panel?
You did.
Or did
Edgar
Lujano?
You said let's wear flannel.
What's it?
You said let's wear flannel, but then Edgar said, well, we'll call it the flannel panel. Yeah.
I think this is going to be shrouded in the mist of history who actually coined it.
No, there's no shroud of mystery.
No,
it was, it was Edgar. Like this is not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You're like one of those Protestants who's like, I'm not really sure if the early church had the Eucharist. No, there's actually no mystery about this. They had the Eucharist.
Wow,
like,
you just
confusing.
called me a Protestant.
Yeah.
Well, you're a Protestant in regard to Edgar. Like, I think you're trying to take a little bit of Edgar's credit.
If I hadn't suggested we all wear flannel, then so I was the inspiration.
You were the inspiration. Yeah, you're like the Holy Spirit. He's like
flannel.
Go ahead. Say it again.
If I hadn't worn flannel, on the other hand, we wouldn't be here at all.
That wasn't a conscious decision on your part, Joe. That's just naturally what you people in the Midwest do, right?
It's true, especially right now. It is currently 22 degrees. Feels like 12.
Yeah.
So if I die,
it's 72 here. It feels like 69.
Can I just say something?
I don't think it feels
about flannel real quick here.
Yeah.
So I actually have not owned a flannel shirt for many years until we decided to do this.
Oh, really?
Bit. Yes.
And you have such nice flannel shirts.
Well, I have two now because of this bit. But the other day or whatever, it was a couple of weeks ago, I was sawing the 4 inches off the bottom of the Christmas tree so it starts drinking again or something.
Yeah.
And I had the flannel shirt on and the bow saw or whatever. And Jackie said, "Oh, you've really got the LL Bean thing going there." Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What a
very alluring.
Yeah,
I like that you're wearing flannel, sawing a tree. And she's not like, oh, lumberjack. She's like, oh, LL Bean.
Jackie's nothing if not high class, man. She is high class.
All right, a model, not like go ahead.
I'm not going to give out the phone number today because what we do each year. This is a tradition now at Catholic Answers, and it's clouded in the mists of history who started the tradition, but it was me. And we survey our listeners through the Radio Club, which you can become a member of by just sending an email to radio@catholic.com, or Society 315. Now, that one costs you bucks. You got to pay $10 a month to be a member of Society 315. But as long as you make any donation $10 a month or above, you're in Society 315. And we ask them all these questions. What's the big story of the year? What's a trend you like? What's a trend you don't like? Who's the Catholic person of the year? And then we do the last two episodes, or the last two times we're on the air, we discuss those. And so yesterday we had Tim Ryland and Todd Agliolaro, and that was a fantastic show. And so maybe you're like fired up for this. It really was, Chris. They did a great job.
No, they're both very bright guys.
Oh, you look like you were taking that as some kind of challenge.
No,
like,
I just
I'm
thought-
really good.
Wait, no. My look of confusion was we're going to go through the same questions again. The poor listeners have to hear the same questions again.
No, that is not what we
get
do. Okay,
Joe's and my take on them.
That's an excellent point. Yesterday we got really smart people, and now we have Joe and Chris.
Right.
No, we split them up. So they do all the.
Oh, so they got different questions.
They do all the really Catholic-y ones, and then you guys get more of the worldly ones. We're kind of doing the news of the world.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling this is actually worse on the first way you said it, where we're just the worst persons.
Yeah,
now we're just like the least Catholic
So
person.
it's not that.
So far I've been called a Protestant, dumb, and worldly in the space of the first quarter. Here,
I
the
didn't
first
say
segment.
the word
Hey,
dumb
you
out
had
loud.
to call yourself an LL Bean model. That was the
Yeah.
worst part.
That's what Jackie said. That wasn't me. Yeah. You know, I just needed the Labrador right there next to me.
No, a real
so-
macho men have King Charles Spaniels.
That's
those
right,
are the
exactly.
those are the real.
That is.
Those are the heroes. Those are the real heroes. The King Charles Spaniels
Famed
guys.
companions of the Stuart Kings.
Yeah. You were about to say something,
So
Mr.
real quick,
Heschmeyer?
if I could, a little bit of Christmas trivia for you. In the 12 days of Christmas, how many birds are given?
Oh, that is good. I'm going to go with. Can we just we take a shot and who's ever closer wins?
Yeah,
Six.
you can.
All right, I'm going to say 71.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I see. Because they're.
Oh, do you want to try again, Chris?
Oh no! All right, no, because I'm dumb and I stink at math. Forget it.
Oh, like I'm good at math.
Oh, I get it. So
Well,
there's
no, you
actually
know what?
there's actually 12 partridges in the pear tree instead of just one. Is that the idea?
Well, I don't
here?
know how they count them. Like every time you say it, because you
Oh, no,
you
no,
end
good
with a
question.
partridge in a pear tree every time.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction. So just take the 12 days. Imagine on the 12th days when you get 12 of
and count
one,
back
11
from
of
there.
the
Yeah.
next. And just do that one day. We're not accumulating 12 different partridges and 12 different pear trees. We're treating that as just one.
And do we
But
count
then-
Lords of Leaping as birds or as people?
That's a good question. Those are people.
Oh, those
I
are people.
assume.
All right, I didn't know. If
St. Paul says there are many lords, but only one God.
yeah.
I don't
that
know
doesn't
if
help
those
us here at all.
ones
But
are not.
thanks
No,
for
it
the quote.
doesn't. Yeah, 23. So actually, Chris was closer.
Congratulations,
but
Chris.
it-
Chris, you're really smart.
You guessed 71.
yeah, but I.
That's not even
Yeah,
close.
days 1,
That's
2,
not even in the
3,
ballpark.
4, 6, and 7. So this is like if you were to actually receive these gifts in the order they're given, this would be the worst day because you've gotten through 4 days where your beloved has given you birds, and you just think, "What am I going to do with all these birds?" And then you get 5 golden rings, and you're like, "Oh, thank God! I know what to do with jewelry."
Yeah.
And then it's back to birds again on day 6. So this is, it's a negative shift. That's all I'm saying. There's one more bird day after this, and then you get people.
What do you do with 5 golden rings though? Like that, you got to put them on different. Like, I've thought about. I just want. This year, I have several times thought about being one of those guys that wears a pinky ring. What do you think? Do you think I should start that? I was
No,
thinking
turn in your badge and your gun. Do not wear a pinky
I think
ring.
the
What?
only jewelry I ever wear is my wedding ring, and I can barely see. I can't stand things touching my skin.
How about a nose ring,
But
Si?
no, not a nose ring. I that seems like it would hurt. But I think the pinky
They
ring. I
do
could-
look like they hurt.
I've seen Sylvester Stallone do it, and I thought, yeah, we're kind of the same. What do you
Yeah.
think? Me and Sylvester Stallone.
Wait, Sylvester Stallone has a pinky ring?
Well, no, I mean like in a movie or something. He'll wear a pinky ring.
Wow.
So
No, pinky rings. It's.
I feel like you got to be.
I'm not going to say anything because we have a large
You gotta be-
demographic of the audience that wears pinky rings, but
You got to be
please
tough.
no.
You got to be tough to wear a pinky ring. Like you got to be kind of.
Because you're inviting a fight. You're inviting someone making fun of you.
And that's how I feel about myself.
Our book
No.
editor Todd Aglioloro owns a bird.
I thought it was going to be a pinky ring.
No, it's a bird, and he and Jackie got into it at the at Tim Ryland's wedding about the merits of birds as pets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Jackie was saying, "Oh yeah, birds they can sniff out cancer." He was saying all the things that dogs can do, like they'll fetch for you or whatever. Oh, there are those birds that will go. They're called falcons. They kind of fetch. But apparently they.
It's true.
But Todd insisted that they are extremely smart. They're actually smarter than dogs.
Birds?
Well, this particular bird, he has, I don't know, it's some kind of parrot or something. Apparently, it's quite smart.
Really?
We looked it up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you open that cage, will it hang around? Like, does it?
Well, yes, if its wings are clipped, which
Oh.
Todd's bird's wings are clipped.
We got wild parrots in my neighborhood. Do you have wild parrots in Kansas at all? We have
No,
a flock
for some
of wild
reason they
parrots.
don't love the cold weather. My one experience with falcons. I was at an aviary. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
In Malta, and got to like actually have owls and a falcon on my arm. They give you a little like arm shield thing. It was only afterwards that I realized like they've got an entire business built on people wanting to have a falcon in Malta because of Maltese Falcon.
That's right.
It's
Get your
entirely
picture. Like that's an
just like
actual
the
Maltese
whole
Falcon.
industry. Yeah.
That's
Which is in the movie. It's not a.
You know what amazed me? I held at one of those birds once, and what amazed me is they're so big, and then you think, oh, this is going to really weigh something on me. They don't weigh anything. I think they might have hollow bones.
They're lighter than air.
That is a
Are they lighter than air? I didn't realize it. They're made out of helium.
Maltese
Yeah.
Falcon, by the way, is a great film. That is a great film.
But can I tell you? I hate to say this because you're always a kind of the unappealing person when you say this. The book is even better.
It is better.
The book
is Raymond
genius.
Chandler. Raymond Chandler.
No, Dashiell Hammett.
Dashiell Hammett. I was
Yeah.
confused those two. Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the second Hammond conversation I've had this month, which is twice as many.
He's an LA guy, right?
Dashiell Hammett. I don't know where he's from.
Yeah, Chandler is San Francisco, or I confuse him.
No,
anyway,
Chandler's L.A.
Chandler's
Yeah,
LA.
I think-
Hammett is
LA. He seems very LA. Chandler, all of his stuff is set in LA.
Okay, Hammett is San Francisco.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're talking about this.
It's a brilliant film, but I have to say your experience, Joe, is even insaner than people going to Iowa to see Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
No, and I'm like, no,
And then they get there, they're just like, oh,
it's a movie set. It's not the whatchamacallit 1918 Cubs or whatever it was.
They don't come out.
or
of the
the White
cornfield?
Sox or whoever it was who threw the World Series.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That right.
Yeah,
The Black Sox,
they're
yeah.
not
Black
there.
Sox.
Yeah, they're
Was
not
it 18?
there. They're
Oh,
not
that-
there.
well,
That's
I'm not going then.
It's a movie set.
I'm not going then.
But people go there.
This has been the strangest opening to the program we have ever done. So congratulations.
I was
on
trying
that.
to give you a segue.
But that worked out, didn't it? That segue that was supposed to transform society. The segue. Do you even ever see a segue now? I mean,
Yeah, they move around on
Blart.
the street.
that's the only
Yeah.
person when you think of segue, you think of Paul Blart. All right, we have to take a break. We're going to do when we come back, we'll do the top TV show and movie of the year.
that was my segue for you.
Oh, is
because
that
I was
what it
talking
was?
about Maltese
TV shows and
Falcon,
movies.
And I missed it.
Movies.
I missed it. Man, what a terrible.
If it was
host.
top TV show of 1942, we'd be on it.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. We're going to do the.
They didn't
we're gonna,
have TV
it's the
in 1942.
year in review starts right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Catholic Answers Live.
Do you have a question but prefer to ask it privately? Catholic Questions can help. Go to CatholicQuestions.com to ask your question online, email us, drop us a letter, or give us a call. Longtime Catholic Answers Live apologist and author Jim Blackburn or another Catholic Questions apologist will be happy to assist you. Catholic Questions proudly supports Catholic Answers Live, so visit us at CatholicQuestions.com today. That's CatholicQuestions.com.
The destination for great Catholic audio programming is EWTN Podcast Central, featuring the best of EWTN radio, as well as faith-filled podcasts from our friends and affiliates across the nation, all in one place, all free. If it's central to the faith, you can find it on EWTN Podcast Central. It's like podcast heaven. Visit EWTN.com/radio/podcasts today.
Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. It's our last program of the year of 2022, and each year on the last program of the year, we share with you what our readers have voted as things like the most trusted Catholic of the year, the positive trend, the negative trend of the year, the pro-life person of the year, the Catholic person of the year, the biggest news story of the year. So we're going to get into all of that, but we had to discuss Dashiell Hammett before we got to that. So we've gotten that out of the way, though. We've got our Dashiell Hammett segment out of the way.
Who's the big sleep? Is that
That's Chandler.
Chandler.
That's
Okay.
Chandler,
That's
yeah.
out. Yeah.
That's Chandler. That is my all-time favorite movie. by the
You
way.
have no idea what's going
They've
on.
made
in
that
it.
twice. Did they make The Big Sleep twice?
You have no idea what's
Are
going
you?
on.
You
No,
talking
there's only one. There's one good one, and then there's been numerous bad remakes.
Oh, I see.
The Howard Hawk, 1946,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah. Humphrey Bogart.
That's the good one.
Lauren Bacall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And you know who helped with the screenplay?
Who?
Faulkner.
That's right.
That's
Faulkner's-
that's why
Faulkner went to
that's why you have no
Hollywood.
idea what's going on.
Yeah. Well, Faulkner didn't really know what was going on at that point.
Yeah.
Like he was not in a good spot when he was in Hollywood. He was.
There's one loose end. So anyone who hasn't seen the movie, which is normal people, it's a very complicated plot. There's a lot of different storylines going on, fast-paced dialogue. By like the second or third time, you're like, oh, I get it. But there's still some loose ends. And there was one that they asked Raymond Chandler about, and he's like, oh, I don't know what happened to that person.
I love that. That's a great author. That would never happen to Dashiell Hammett. Let me tell you right now.
When Faulkner was out in Hollywood helping with screenplays, he had a golf game with Clark Gable. And, and apparently neither was impressed with the other. And I forget exactly how it goes, but it was Gable said something to. So, Mr. Faulkner, what do you do?
Oh man, I win the Nobel Prize in Literature. What do you do?
Wow.
That's funny because doesn't I think one of the great books, maybe it's Light in August, starts with a golf game. No, it's not Light in August. One of them starts with a golf game, they're
hitting.
Faulkner's.
They're hitting. No,
So,
Absalom.
You can't figure out it's a golf game because Faulkner's writing it. You're
Yeah.
like, I don't even
They're
know what's
hitting.
happening.
Well,
here.
it's being told from the perspective of the boy with
So can I give my quick Hammett
Can we
story?
do the show now? Oh, is this a
Oh,
Dashiell Hammett
fine,
story?
fine.
No, if you
Let's
got
just do English literature. American writers for 300, Alex.
Look, there's going to be plenty of Catholic segues you can get off of this one. The
Okay.
library by my parents' house in Leawood, Kansas. It has around the top of it, like on the, just a few feet from the ceiling, like the trim, I guess, the names of a bunch of famous authors, because it's a library. There's 18 of them, and it includes, inexplicably, Hammett. But it also has C.S. Lewis, Dostoevsky, Aquinas, Aristotle, and I'm blanking. Who is the other? So it's like this incredibly
the pantheon of writers.
These great. Yeah. Well, then also Lewis. So it's like a very surprisingly religious list, and then you just get Dashiell Hammett. And so someone, when I shared this online, was like, "Is there like a local connection? How did he make this list?"
Well,
it's just inexplicable. It's just like the guy's favorite authors. He just put them up there.
He is a great writer, but no Shakespeare. You got Dashiell Hammett and no Shakespeare.
Oh,
on
sorry.
there?
You got Shakespeare. You got Tolstoy.
Okay.
But I was originally just shocked to see C.S. Lewis up there, and then to see Aquinas up there, and then looked at the other ones like Poe's up there, Austen's up there.
And
Madeline
Dashiell Hammett.
L'Engle, the one who
Lord
did Wrinkle
Byron.
in Time.
Oh,
that,
Madeline L'Engle, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
She was
there's
Catholic.
some
Was
very
she?
strange.
Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah.
This has to have been a Catholic who did this.
Okay, one more thing.
No,
come on. No.
We go- all right.
Raymond Chandler. When I was, I remember when I was in the Marine Corps. Remember. Okay, I'm segueing you. Remember the TV show Spencer for Hire?
Yes. Yeah.
So that was based on a series of books by Robert Parker.
yes. Yeah.
Parker, who was a great mystery writer, he got permission from the Chandler estate to finish an unfinished Chandler novel, and it was called Poodle Springs. And it's set
The
in
classic Poodle Springs.
It's set in Palm Springs. It's set in Palm Springs. But yeah, he got and it's actually quite good. He does an excellent job. But Chandler was a great inspiration for him, and he got permission from the family estate to
Isn't
finish
that
the book.
great? That's
yeah,
cool.
I recommend the book.
It's like Mahler's 10th Symphony. You know, this, they leave these things unfinished, and then you're like, who can finish this thing? Who else has left unfinished works? No, we're going to do the show now. I'm sorry. We're going to do the show now. The TV show.
Yeah, otherwise it's going to be you.
What, with
You'll
unfinished
be the one
works?
with the unfinished work. You'll be
classic.
like, I had all these questions I was going to ask, and they diverted us to weird pulp novels from the 40s. The
All right,
entire 2 hours.
who did our Catholic listeners? I think most of them who voted are Catholic. Vote for the TV show or movie of the year. TV show. And by the way, this is a repeat from yesterday, but I just wanted to hear what you guys thought what the winner was. So we did actually
If
do
I had
this.
to guess, I'd say The Chosen.
Ooh, The Chosen Few.
Is that a 2022 show?
The Chosen? Well, yeah, it's still
How do
going.
you measure
yeah.
that?
Yeah, like
do you go by the first year it premiered?
no,
Is
with a
it
TV
anything
show,
live?
as long as they're still making them, it can get voted for.
Okay.
So you can't vote for I Dream of Jeannie, but you can vote for The Chosen.
Yeah, I don't have a better guess than Joe's, as long as it's not Top Gun, Tom Cruise 2 and 2D.
Boom! Nailed it.
Oh no.
Here's the top three, and in order. The Tom Cruise Top Gun movie, whatever, Maverick or whatever. I have not seen it. Have you seen it, Sarah? Sarah's seen it. Good or bad? Sarah loved it.
Oh dear.
Next.
It's the platonic form of summer blockbuster.
Is it? Oh, that see. All right. Well, that's fine. And then there's came in number 2, The Chosen, and then number 1. For some reason, Tim yesterday said this is a controversial choice. Father Stu.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you why it's a controversial choice. Because the original version is an R-rated version that has a bunch of curse words in it.
Yeah.
Because the actual Father Stu had kind of a rough mouth, but people who are watching like a feel-good religious movie maybe don't want to hear like, the way people from your part of the country talk. Si is a Bostonian, for those who don't know.
So
so they did a re-release. It's PG-13.
I hadn't thought about that. Maybe part of the reason that I didn't care at all about the swearing was because I'm from Boston. I hadn't thought about that because these are 2 California guys. No, Todd's from Long Island. But they were very upset about the swearing, and I thought it's part of the art. It's part of the work they were making. It helped the story.
I will say I'm a little surprised with Todd being from Long Island because you like a Mother's Day card in Long Island has swearing.
It depends which end of Long Island you're on.
So I kind of feel like our listeners feel an obligation to give a movie that has a kind of a Catholic or a Christian.
I think people did. Yeah. Not Maverick though.
Okay, yeah. Well, that wasn't a good movie though.
Sarah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't see it.
I find him unwatchable.
Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Oh, you and my wife. My wife and I have a debate about this. I think Tom Cruise is a wonderful actor. I'm not saying anything else about it. She says I can't watch him.
I cannot get past all the harm he has done with that Scientology stuff, and which is deeply, deeply harmful, and just I don't know. I cannot watch him.
Huh.
I kind of feel like if we start watching only shows that non-awful actors are in, we'll have a very short watch list.
Yeah, I think I can draw some lines here, actually. I think there are material
That's
differences.
Fair. I mean,
I don't know. I just don't have that feeling about him. I like what he does. I think he's very good.
He was a Catholic seminarian. I don't know if you know that.
Well, that's probably the part that I like. I don't know.
If
people have very strong feelings about Tom Cruise.
He'd just be the first Father Mike Schmitz.
I just don't think he's that good an actor. He's a movie star.
Yeah, but I like movie stars. I got nothing against movie stars. Like, what's their?
I don't. Yeah.
He's arguably he and George Clooney are the last of the movie stars. I don't think you have movie stars in the classic sense after those 2 guys.
Brad Pitt's not a movie star?
Yes and no. And also, is Brad Pitt like after Tom Cruise? I guess he is.
I think they're contemporary. Yeah, Tom Cruise is probably. Well, he was. Yeah. Okay. Well, now we're gonna do the. I'm just moving on. I got no transition. I'm just moving on now. But that's interesting. You really don't like Tom Cruise. Do you have any feelings, Joe, about Tom Cruise?
Every movie Tom Cruise is in, he's just Tom Cruise.
Yes.
Well, I don't feel that way at all.
Joe makes a
very. Well, partly just because he's so famous. Like he doesn't. He's not like a Daniel Day-Lewis where he just is whatever character he's playing. Yeah. Tom Cruise is just like he's running, he's flashing his really white teeth, and he's like doing a lot of smiling at the camera. And it's Mission Impossible, Top Gun. If you told me those were the same guy who just like switched careers, I'd be like, oh yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. It's the same person.
I think the most important person in the movie in making a movie is the person who does the casting.
Well, maybe. I think it's the writer. I always feel like the written word is the most important thing.
No, if you don't,
I'm hoping to get that job someday. Make a little money. I'm working on my script right now.
Are we supposed to say what we thought was the best?
Yeah, what do you think was the best? That's a good point, Chris. Yeah, what do you think was the best movie or TV show of the year?
So I have kind of a divided heart about this because there are some really good TV shows, but they're almost all morally problematic. But I'm going to tell you what the best movie of 2022 was the remake. It's on Netflix right now of All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, I didn't see it. It really is good?
It's a German picture, and boy, is it the antidote to all the Jingo pro-war movies. Every member of Congress, every neocon who wants to go pick a fight in a foreign land needs to watch this movie. Yeah, my experience is the real warmongers are the ones who've never fired a named round, much less wore a uniform. And this film makes it very clear how brutal and evil war is.
I just want to say one.
It's a brilliant piece of filmmaking by a brand new. This is his first.
But you pick on the neocons. But in
modern, or the liberals, whatever.
In modern America, liberals are pro-war.
They are the same.
Never say no to war.
They've
completely abandoned at least they had anti-war credentials, and they've utterly abandoned it. I mean, who's more excited about the war in Ukraine than American liberals? And I say that because I'm deeply offended by it. Like, it's like liberals being pro-abortion. What does liberalism mean if it doesn't mean defending the unborn and avoiding unnecessary killing in war? But liberals are crazy for war and killing these days. They've just given up.
I don't draw.
So I don't mind you picking on neocons, but I mean, come on, everybody's war all the time now.
It's the same category, neocon liberal. It's the same. Yeah, but anyway, it is a brilliant piece of filmmaking. It is brutal on the scale. This leaves Steven Spielberg way behind.
All right, man,
so with caution, I recommend it with caution.
All right, Joe, the music's playing. You got one?
I'm going to pass. I can't think of anything that I can just give like an unqualified endorsement to. I don't have time to do qualifications.
All right, well, we'll do Catholic Person of the Year and Pro-Life Person of the Year right after this on Catholic Answers Live. The recent decision by the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade was a monumental victory for the pro-life movement. But the fight is far from over. With our new booklet, Why We're Pro-Life, we have produced the perfect tool to prepare you to have peaceful and convincing conversations to shed light on the truth about human life from conception to natural death. Catholic Answers is printing millions of copies of this booklet, and we plan simply to give them away. You can help us in two ways. First, by generously supporting this project. 25 cents prints one book, $2,500 prints 10,000, and so on. Second, by helping us distribute the booklet through your parish, your school, or the pro-life ministry you work with. Catholic Answers is going to blanket the country with why we're pro-life, but only if you step up and help us. Thank you so much. For more information, visit whyweareprolife.com.
Want to know more about the origins of the Catholic Church? Joe Heschmeyer explores the beginnings of Christianity in The Early Church Was the Catholic Church. Joe digs deep into the words and actions of those who lived right after the apostles to refute anti-Catholic claims of how the faith was lived back then. Order your copy of The Early Church Was the Catholic Church today at shop.catholic.com or get it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
What if the voice of your deepest doubts about Catholicism rose up in the form of a human being and challenged you to defend your most foundational beliefs? That's the task apologist Trent Horn took upon himself in his new book, Devil's Advocate, a dialogue with his own best objections against the faith that he professes and defends. You can stand up against your doubts, and Trent will show you how. Pick up your copy of Devil's Advocate today at shop.catholic.com or at a good Catholic bookstore near you. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. We're running through the big stories of the year. We're actually not doing that very much. We're just mostly chatting and having more fun than we should. I don't know who spiked the eggnog this morning, but while we're recording this, but we've gotten a bit far afield. I do have to make one clarification. Sarah clarified for me that she didn't love Top Gun Maverick. She just gave it a thumbs up, and that was a thumbs up. But Sarah, you just went on a pilgrimage for the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe to Mexico City. Will you just tell us about that for a minute? I'm curious about it because you just got back today.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to know?
I am so jealous, Sarah. I've never been. I'm going to go in March.
Yeah, you just gave a talk.
While you were away, Chris gave an absolute. And I have heard him give this talk before, but this was a bravura performance. What's the guy that the shipbuilder? What's his name?
Oh yeah.
What's So what?
Diego's. I'm not. It'll come to me in a minute.
But there's a part where you say, "Is Diego so and so?"
Yeah, has he survived?
Has he survived? And I got chills when he said it. Has he survived? It's such a good. It's a good talk.
You know, I think this was the only thing that could have kept me from going to see that talk. Was going to see Our Lady.
Yeah. So what was it like for you to go to see the tilma and all that?
I mean, it was incredible. I mean, my mom's Mexican, so, you know, she's had a devotion to it my whole life. But just going to see it myself, it really, it hit home. It
Yeah.
really, it just felt incredible. Like I'd seen pictures my whole life, but of course.
But you're
nothing
standing there in
compares to
front of
the
a
real
miracle.
thing. Yes.
when you're there.
And there's like a little escalator and
Yeah.
walking escalator. It's never enough time. You always have to
No.
go back around. And
Did you see the cross, the bent cross?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because in the 1920s,
1921, I think.
1921, probably the Mexican government tried to blow up Our Lady of Guadalupe, and they blew out windows around the neighborhood. They blew up large parts of the church. They bent the cross backwards so that it's at basically a 90-degree angle. Didn't touch a hair on Our Lady's head.
No, and even the glass covering the tilma was not scratched.
It's a miracle on top of a miracle.
That is genuinely, exactly, literally a miracle on top of a miracle.
Yeah. So what were the pilgrims like? That's what I want to know. Like, is it just jammed with pilgrims on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe?
Yes. I mean, you can see just for miles people just in crowds, making this pilgrimage to the shrine, and it's incredible. People going on their knees and with statues and celebration, and it's beautiful.
It is the most visited pilgrimage site in the world.
Yeah. 20 million.
Yeah, compared to about 7 million St. Peter's.
That's incredible.
That is incredible. And I'm so glad you said your mom's Mexican, but the truth about Our Lady of Guadalupe is I think a lot of North Americans are discovering her now. Yeah. And, we have the shrine in Wisconsin, and she's the Lady of the Americas. She's not the Lady of Mexico or Spanish-speaking Americas. She's the Lady of the Americas. Mm-hmm. So I do think that more and more people are discovering just the astonishing miracle of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah. Well, we're 9.
I will say I'm jealous at how well Mexican Americans seem to celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe compared to the rest of us. I mean, I've just heard people doing like parties and celebrations, and it just like making it a much bigger deal.
Yes, it's really it's a big celebration when everyone's there. Yes.
Well, I've been in Tijuana during the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and every neighborhood has a procession. Like, it's not like we got to have a big party. It's every neighborhood. There's a procession. You're driving around the city, and procession, and some of them very, very small, just a few people. Some of them hundreds of people. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. The feast. Well, I'm glad you got to go, Sarah.
Me too. Yes.
Did you fly out of Tijuana, or did you fly out of San Diego, or how'd you get down there?
So I actually flew to Austin.
To
Austin.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And then down to the city.
Yeah. All right.
It's a bargain to fly from Tijuana, and it's the Otay airport it's a lovely airport, and it's quite cheap. And I'm going to go in March.
Yeah,
I think flying from San Diego to Austin to get to Mexico is south by southeast.
Well, you went to Houston, Sarah, to meet up with your
Houston,
grandparents. Yeah.
My great aunt and uncle, yes.
Oh,
so I went with
okay.
them,
Okay.
and then we were with a group. So we had a group of about 25, 30 people. If they're listening, I miss you all.
Oh, that's so beautiful,
I have such
Sarah.
holy
That's
envy.
beautiful.
I can't wait to see her. I will say this: the Holy See, a year or so ago, declared that if you go to the shrine in La Crosse, the same graces and indulgences attach to that pilgrimage if you're not inclined to go to Mexico City.
What if you do it double? You go to both.
You just you just really empty out that treasury of grace.
You really empty out the infinite treasury of grace.
Yeah. Cortez's shipbuilder was Martin Lopez.
Is Martin Lopez
Martin Lopez alive?
Alive. Oh, that's a great line. Y'all should get Chris's talk on Our Lady of Guadalupe.
If you're in the 315 Society, you can get it.
All right, so we're going to do Catholic
Well,
person.
can I give another Chris advertisement for his performance?
Yeah,
he does a beautiful poetic recital, and when he was up here at Benedictine, somehow word of this spread around, and they made him perform it twice, and it was it was like it was the hairs on your arms. It was what's it called? Whitehall, the Chesterton.
Lepanto.
Oh, he did
Lepanto,
Lepanto?
yeah.
Oh, man. Was Don Juan dancing on the bow of the ship?
Another great feast of Our Lady. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do
Yeah.
Catholic Person of the Year. We usually do this as the very last thing. But let's be honest, I get confused sometimes about what I'm supposed to do, so I just did it yesterday with the guys. So we already did Catholic Person of the Year, but I got to do it with you guys now. So I messed up, all right?
You were like, no, I'm not recycling them. I'm doing different questions. They just all were ones I've asked before.
Well, I messed up a little bit, on a couple of things. All right, so who do you think our listeners chose as the Catholic Person of the Year?
Archbishop Corleone.
And
that was literally what I was going to say as well. I asked my wife this morning what I should choose, and we both said
and that's what she said,
Corleone.
that he would be Catholic Person of the Year?
Seems like, and pro-life person of the year, right? Because is it two separate categories?
No, it's two separate categories.
Or is that one?
No, yeah, two separate categories.
Oh.
So this is Catholic.
Father
person.
Mike Schmitz was last year, right?
Yeah, he was.
He could get a two.
You can rarely go wrong with Father Mike Schmitz. People love
Can
Father
I say
Mike
I'm
Schmitz.
slightly uncomfortable with this category?
Why?
Because really what it means is Catholic Celebrity of the Year. And I mean, I'm not accusing Corleone or Father Mike of being celebrities, but whether they want it or not, they are public figures.
Yeah.
So it's like Catholic Public Figure Year. But for all I know, the Catholic Person of the Year is, a young virgin in a camp abducted by Muslims in Nigeria right now, trying to hold on to her faith and being threatened, or some Benedictine nun in Gower, Missouri, or so. That's just not how the economy of grace works. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's right, but we're not asking who's the most graced person of the year. I mean, it is
right.
It
It's
is about
public
the
figure,
news.
Catholic public
it's
figure.
Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yes, it is. I just felt the need to say that. But
it's a good point.
In the case of
the
Corleone,
person who maybe the
I just had the good fortune to be with him a couple of weeks ago up in San Francisco. What a devoted and holy man he is.
He is, yeah. And a regular person, too.
Yep.
Not a weirdo.
Nope.
Not a prima donna.
No, he's interested in being the shepherd.
Which happens to a lot of celebrities. You're laughing at me, Joe, but a lot of people get a little taste of celebrity and they become weirdo prima donnas.
In fact,
have you ever met Trent
you're
Horn?
in the seat
do you
where
know
I
Trent
think
Horn?
you see people.
In fact,
No, in fairness to Trent, he was a weirdo before he got
Okay.
I had the good fortune to come to know a couple more ordinaries this year, and one is Joe's Archbishop Naumann.
Isn't he great?
A holy, humble man whose chief interest, exclusive interest, is being the shepherd of the people of Kansas City. And I'll tell you another guy that I just met who exactly fits that description, and it's Bishop Conderla in Tulsa. Absolutely, this man is interested in being the shepherd of the
I met
people.
Bishop Conderla once.
He came from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
He is absolutely interested
He's
in being
the one that rides the motorcycle.
He does?
I think he's the one that rides the
Oh,
motorcycle.
Archbishop Sample has a motorcycle. He waited till his mom died before he bought it. He's another one. He just wants to be the shepherd of the people. I mean, there are ordinaries out there who are really first-rate holy men
Yes,
who
there
just want to shepherd their people.
There are.
it's a good thing you mentioned that, because I think that it's often easy as Catholics to get really discouraged with the bishops
Yes.
as some collective class. But there's a lot of really good bishops who often just have their nose to the grindstone, and they're doing what they can to shepherd their flock, and they're not really looking to make waves, make headlines. And I don't think there's anything wrong as such with making waves or headlines. But there are, as I kind of alluded to, or as you kind of alluded to earlier, Chris, there are a lot of spiritual temptations that go along with that. And power corrupts and fame corrupts.
Celebrity is bad for clerics. It's very, very bad for clerics. One more, Bishop Paprocki in Springfield I've gotten to know over the past couple of years. He just wants to be the shepherd of the people of Springfield. That's the highest compliment I can pay a bishop.
My problem with Bishop
Finke,
Paprocki
I would give
is
him.
he'll get up in front of a group and he'll sing Led Zeppelin. And that I don't approve of that
It
at all.
is true.
The man got up in front of a group here in
did.
California and sang Led Zeppelin.
He did. And he didn't
I
crack
don't
a smile.
approve. I don't approve. All right, there's really only two people. There's really only two people in place number 2. I mean, there's a lot of people that got 4, 5, 6 votes, but only people that got substantial double-digit votes. Father Mike, second place. He's number 2 with a bullet.
Good.
And number 1 is a humble Benedictine nun in the middle of America. All right, it's not. That's not it. It's Bishop Corleone.
Mother Abbess Cecilia. That's who it is.
Sister Jane.
Yeah.
Right, Joe?
Joe's
my aunt. That's a great choice.
No, it's Archbishop Corleone, like by far and away.
Well deserved.
People like Archbishop Corleone.
Yep.
Okay, so now we'll do pro-life person of the year. Okay, this is a different category, pro-life person of the year. And how shall I put this?
Just do it.
Well,
just jump on
no,
it.
sometimes it's not exactly clear who people are indicating, and so I collect them up under a shared category. If like,
wait, are they just like that one guy who did the pro-life thing?
yeah, they'll say things like that. Or all right, let me just tell you, the top three are all very, very close. Archbishop Corleone came in fourth and is not close because people were like, already voted for him as Catholic of the Year. Not going to vote for him for pro-life person of the year because I don't want him to become a weirdo celebrity bishop. And so,
that's how our listeners talk, according to Cy. I just want listeners to listen.
Insult the
this is what Cy thinks you sound like.
Yeah.
I apologize. Joe, this is all I can do. This is my only job that I can do. It's this or nothing. So don't get me fired.
I'm too proud to beg, and I'm too old to dig.
That's exactly
it's in the Bible.
You are the unjust steward.
I'm that guy. Right. All right. So a tie for second. So this or a tie for third. I don't know how you do that.
I don't know.
Trent Horn and Lila Rose. They both got a lot of votes.
That's a great combo.
Yeah. Trent Horn, assume because he's Trent Horn. Lila Rose, I asked around, I said, why would she get a lot of votes this year? And people said she did a lot of secular media. She was on, because I know
Phil
she's
Donahue, or Dr. Phil, whatever.
Dr. Phil.
Yeah, Dr. Phil. You can tell how much I've watched TV.
Yeah.
But
So I guess she did a great job on Dr. Phil. And so, because, there's people that are consistently pro-life year after year, and then you see they got a lot of votes. You're like, why? What'd they do this year? And I think it was because of the secular media stuff she did. I'm assuming. I don't know.
And so I want to give her props. I've disagreed with her on some tactics live action's used. So, and I understand some of the things she's done in the past have been controversial. Yeah,
right, deceiving people and lying. Right.
But what she's done this year is unapologetically or apologetically really good. It's like she just goes out there and is just attacked mercilessly by people who are supposed to be moderators in these secular shows, like Dr. Phil. And she just maintains her cool and her poise. And what she is, her ability to speak calmly under fire while she's being kind of like badgered and talked down to is really remarkable. It's not something a lot of people can do. And I think, I'll just say frankly, that people are ruder to her because she's a woman and because she's a younger woman. And like the amount of condescension and kind of insufferable kind of like, oh, well, let me explain it to you that she has to put up with. And she does it without cracking. It's great. It's I think it's bad being on your show, Cy. She has to deal with even worse.
Yeah,
host.
Right.
And there's a certain element of disbelief when her interlocutors are talking to her because it's, well, you're a woman. Why can't you get this straight? Yeah.
Well, good for her then, because I have not seen those. I have not. I've heard about the Dr. Phil interview. Another person who got some votes here is someone who I did see. I just by accident caught her being absolutely attacked on CNN, just brutally. And her name is Kristen Hawkins. And
Students for Life.
Students for Life. And she didn't break a sweat. And she just said things that are true. She just kept plowing forward. And so I was very impressed with her. And she got a few votes. So I didn't catch Lila Rose on any of the stuff. But that's just because, you catch some and you don't catch others. But good for these. I really do admire people who are just unflappable like that in the face of I don't understand why these hosts like Dr. Phil or the people on CNN don't see that this derision and condescension is unacceptable. Like they would notice it in any other, and I really do think there's a certain kind of flattery that's almost, and I don't want to do the demon thing too much, but there's a kind of demonic flattery of, oh, I'm really hitting this out of the park right now, doing, that almost is a kind of, you're speaking to the people, you're not speaking to your listeners or viewers, you're speaking to the people you're going to see at the cocktail party later who are going to say, oh, great job ripping that pro-life girl, to pieces, where you want to say, you know what, you're a reporter. Don't be an idiot. Why are you talking to people like that?
Yeah, it's a little different with Dr. Phil because he's got a track record of doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where some of the people come on the show to have, let's find out their views. But just to speak very frankly, a fair amount of what he's doing is speaking to people who I think he and the producers of the show regard as idiots, and they're telling them how to think about an issue. And sometimes they tell them that by inviting someone on they agree with and having them explain. And sometimes they invite it on by having people they disagree with come on and then treating them like, this is a bad view. This is ugly. You can't believe that.
You bad
So that your
person.
takeaway, regardless of... Right. The point is not, let's give a fair hearing to this idea. It's let's bring this person on and publicly scold them so that anyone else who might be tempted to hold that view also feels scolded and doesn't hold that view.
It's the old Morton
And I think
Downey
that's-
view of television. Remember Morton Downey Jr.?
I do.
He kind of invented that.
Yeah.
But now everybody does
Robert
it.
Downey?
No,
Morton Downey Jr.
I'm-
Yeah, was
I'm
he was at a
joking.
DC, wasn't
I'm
he at a
not a-
DC?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can
but-
I guess the number one?
Yeah, as soon as we come back right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
There's only one Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Do you love praying for people? Have you ever wanted to use your gift of prayer to share Jesus with others and build up the body of Christ? Start a public prayer station with St. Paul Street Evangelization. Listen to people's needs, pray with them, or invite them to meet you at church. St. Paul Street Evangelization can help you get started. Find out how at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
This is Cecilia Flannery, Director of Divine Mercy Radio. The world needs Catholic radio because it changes lives and saves souls for Jesus. It brings each of us closer to Him, and when you're closer to Jesus, there's a very good chance you will spend eternity with Him. Catholic radio not only changes your life in this world, it changes it for all of eternity.
The world needs EWTN Catholic Radio, now more than ever.
All right, Pro-Life Person of the Year. Now it's time to reveal it. But it's not Trent Horn. It's not Lila Rose, despite the fact that they got lots and lots of votes. And this was the closest of all the categories. Gentlemen, you want to take a guess at who was voted the Pro-Life Person of the Year by Catholic Answers listeners?
It's Sam Alito, right?
Joe, you got a guess?
Oh, that's a good... yeah, I think Alito's a great choice. I hadn't thought of that. That's a freebie. That should be the right answer.
I had to amalgamate these because people said this in different ways, but it's the Supreme Court. Because
the Supreme Court's not a person.
No, but I know. But a lot of people voted the Supreme Court, or they would say things like the court that overturned Roe v. Wade, or the Dobbs decision people. So
I got it right.
So Sam Alito was in there. Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
He wrote the opinion. He spoke for the court. So
Yeah.
if you're going to personify the court, the majority opinion is how you do that.
Well, I also grouped it. So sometimes they would pick three justices, like they'd go Thomas, Barrett, Alito, or something like that. And I don't know why those three, but so I.
I've heard a lot about voter fraud, but I think we need to investigate our own ranks. It
Yeah,
sounds like some of these votes are pretty sketchy.
Well, I mean,
voting three
the
times.
thing is, we don't give you choices to choose from. You just get to say whatever you want, and on some.
Yeah.
That you'd be surprised is the range of ways people express basically the same thing. So I just amalgamated it into the Supreme Court, and you guys amalgamated that into Samuel Alito. So, and the decision really is good. It reads really well, and I felt like as a pro-life person, I think I've told you this before, Joe, maybe on the air. Reading it, I thought. This is the decision I would have dreamed of. Like I thought this is the person saying the things that everybody knows in the pro-life movement, which is probably half the country, and then the other half in the pro-choice or whatever the other, view is called. But it was like finally somebody in a position of authority saying what should have been said in 1971 or 72 or whatever.
Yeah. It's one of those decisions that if you actually read it, especially if you have a kind of legal background to make sense of some of the arguments, because they do get a little technical, they're really on point. I mean, it's hard to read it and see where does the reasoning fall apart. And then you read like the dissent, and they talk about like imposing religion on people, and you're like, did you read anything?
Like he didn't say
of the
anything
opinion that
about
you're
it.
dissenting against?
No.
There's nothing about that.
Right.
And I think there's this idea that no matter how strong the argument against abortion is, it's always just a smokescreen for I'm religious and don't like abortion. And that's just it's such a bad way of viewing the arguments of someone with whom you disagree. Like if we said every pro-choice argument is just an excuse to justify your licentious lifestyle or something like that, you would say, hey, at a certain point, you've got to respect the other person enough to really engage their arguments on the merits. You can't just assume the worst of everyone with whom you disagree, especially when it's half the country. And so, I would say the same thing to the other side on
Well,
this.
especially when you're a justice on the Supreme Court. By that point, shouldn't you be informed a little bit by civility and logic in your trade?
Right.
We all know the fight continues here, of course, because the subsequent statewide referenda here in California, Kansas is another example. So that's why we've got our why we're pro-life booklet. Why we are pro-life, because Catholics...
WhyWeAreProLife.com.
Yeah, WhyWeAreProLife.com. Because Catholics need to get better at talking about life. That's why we're losing this. It's not because we didn't get the vote out.
Well, you say we're losing, but this really was a year of astonishing... I mean, this was the best year for the pro-life movement since the Roe versus Wade decision. Because places like Texas and not Kansas. I don't know what's wrong with the people of Kansas, but in other places...
There's a book about that.
Yeah. But, but then it's also the worst year because there's places like California and Michigan who just utterly insane, not even I can kind of see how they're misguided. No, like voting for killing babies to the moment that they are born, fully formed 9th month. I mean, there's people in America voting for infanticide. It gives you a sense of the monstrousness of this thing.
My friends, next month is Pro-Life Month. Catholic Answers will send you free cases, free, including shipping, of this booklet if you can get your pastor to assure us, or your Knights of Columbus Council, or your school principal, or whatever the organization is, that they will be passed out. Free. WhyWeAreProLife.com. This is something to do for Pro-Life Month.
You can go WhyWeAreProLife.com. I'm going to move on to the next category. The next category is trend in the world that gives you concern. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no winner here. There is just people are all over the map. Like for example, you'll have. But now there are some that kind of have a clump of a few votes. And Germany and German bishops got themselves a clump, But somebody actually put like trends that concern you. One person wrote Germany. I was like,
I mean, no matter what year you do this episode, that'll always be a good answer.
Yeah, no, come on.
It could be 1939. It could be 2022. Germany's always a safe bet for trends that are a little alarming.
I believe you're forgetting 1,000 years of the Holy Roman Empire. I believe.
No, we could go through the number of times they invaded Italy to try to take over the papacy. And it was like the story of like
sometimes Italy needed a little invading. All right, every now and then.
Names the Holy Roman Emperor. The Holy Roman Emperor decides he should also get to choose the Pope. Then he invades, and then you wash and repeat. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, Joe coming out against the Holy Roman Empire.
They gave us J.S. Bach.
I'm the Germans have done plenty of good things, but don't turn your back for too long.
The people, I mean, but the synodal vague got a lot of votes, so that is certainly one. Another a big one, we have not talked about this one yet, and this might, I mean, if I had added it up in a certain way, it might have been the winner, is gender stuff. People really see that as a terrible trend.
It is.
Yeah, you were talking about your bad transitions.
Oh. Joe, come on. This is... All right. That's all Joe's got. He's against the Holy Roman Empire and me.
And
Those
against gender transition. Yeah, I think
gender transition. All right.
Props to our friends Chuck Lemandry and Paul Jonah, who have defended that young lady who made some bad decisions, or a young man, and now actually I'm not sure which. and is now suing the doctors.
Yeah. Well, these doctors should be sued.
They should,
and these
then jailed.
Institutions should be sued. If you do things like
mutilate
neuter
people.
children
Yep.
with chemicals, or mutilate girls by removing their breasts,
Yep. You should go to jail.
You should go to jail for it, and because that's mutilation, and a reckoning is coming, and God willing, come quickly. So fewer than might otherwise will be abused in this way and be have their bodies mistreated and mutilated in this way. Joe Heschmeyer, can you do another hour with us?
I'd be happy to.
All right, now we'll see how you come out against the original Roman Empire. Now that you've come out against the Holy Roman Empire.
Holy Roman Empire, neither holy nor Roman nor an empire.
That's what Voltaire said. He was a bad man.
I'm coming down on Chris's side on everything today. On everything. From Dashiell Hammett to Voltaire to war. We'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live, and Merry Christmas to you on this 6th day of Christmas. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Joe Heschmeyer and Chris Check are our guests, and we're doing a little last day of the broadcast year for us, flannel panel, where we're discussing what our listeners chose as the big stories of the year, the big trends of the year, the persons of the year in various categories. But I have forgotten to do 2 items of business that I have to do right now. First of all, I was supposed to tell you yesterday and today that these shows are pre-recorded because someone said to me, what if like a meteor hits and you guys are all, palling around, having fun, and people think it's live, and if a meteor hits between now, the time we're recording this, and the time that this broadcasts, I apologize to all the victims of the meteor. I do take meteors very seriously. It's just we don't know about it because we end our end-of-year survey about the 15th of December, and then we record these shows. So there's things that our listeners don't know about that could happen in the last few weeks of the year. And there's things that we don't know about, and maybe possibly one of them is a meteor strike in which a major city or even a continent was taken out, and we don't know about it, but we are against that. I just want to say that. The other item of business is I was supposed to give you a clue last hour, and I didn't, because for all 12 days of Christmas over at shop.catholic.com, you can get free books by following the clues. So here's the clue for you. Each day of Christmas, we'll be reading a clue leading you to a book title at shop.catholic.com. If you're one of the first 5 to locate the product and use the attached promo code, you will get it for free. Today, the 6th day of Christmas, 6 geese a-laying. Here's your clue. O come, the faithful praying. The serpent spies 6 geese a-laying. Read the clue twice. Oh, I wasn't supposed to read that part. Let me read.
Pause for applause.
Pause for applause. Read the clue. Okay, here we go. O come, the faithful praying. The serpent spies 6 geese a-laying. Happy hunting. Get your free books by following that clue at shop.catholic.com.
Are Catholic Answers employees and their members of their extended families eligible for this?
I do not. I believe no. Do
you know the answer to this, Chris?
No. Of the clue?
Okay, I'm baffled by this clue. Yeah.
No, it's something that you have to find on the website.
I'm guessing it doesn't point to
I see.
Yeah, you search the website, shop.catholic.com, and if you find that whatever matches up with that clue, I'm guessing it's an image, and then you will, then you can win.
I'm pretty sure it's not pointing to a Dashiell Hammett or a Raymond Chandler book.
We can't talk about Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler.
No, Jack during the break.
Jack told us to knock it off.
Jack during the break said that was too much self-indulgent English major stuff.
Yeah,
or I think word for word is what he said.
Well, he doesn't use big words like that, but
he
that's what he
called
meant.
Nietzsche. He referred to two.
I think he said Nietzsche.
He referred to 2
Chandler
of the greatest
and
writers in American literature as Nietzsche.
Yeah.
These are the kind of people we hire here.
Well,
and I actually gave Jack a compliment in front of a room full of 700 people and said, Jack reads books. And now I have to withdraw it.
Jack's awful bright. He's awful nice. We are very fond of Jack around here. Is this your first year here, Jack? Is this your first year?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the category of Best New Hire at Catholic Answers, coming in 3rd this year,
Edgar.
Jack. Coming in 2nd, Edgar. All right, we're going to move on.
Sarah was hired this year.
No,
she's been here a long
Sarah's
time.
been here. Yeah.
2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, she's mad now, Chris. She's mad. I think you're out of the mix now. Okay. So the negative trends of the year. We are the 2 that we covered before we went to the break. Germany was one, but I think that meant
the Holy Roman Empire,
and then another was the transgender stuff. There's
my wife. I asked her this morning, and she suggested doxing. Which I thought was a pretty good take. Because you don't want just a bad thing. You want a bad thing that's kind of new or in the news more or something like that.
It's picking up
you
steam.
can't just be like, pestilence is bad. But like doxing, for those who aren't hip, it's revealing someone's personal information in kind of a threatening way. Like you're online, you say something controversial, and someone's like, I know where you live. You live at 1517 or 2020 Gillespie Way or whatever it is, and so you suddenly have to fear for your life, and people might
why'd you give out my address?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe consult with your wife before you do these things.
We just put a huge
doxing is terrible. It's just awful. It's just I've even heard that some of the like, again, not to pick on CNN, but I'm utterly disgusted by everything CNN has done lately. Apparently, they gave out people's personal information on air. Some people they disagreed with this year. So
it's pretty remarkable. I mean, so Elon Musk is very anti-doxing because someone created a Twitter account that just followed his airplane, and people were like, menacing them. Like, they're driving by and just like not saying who they were and rolling down the windows and just staring at them and doing things that were obviously meant to intimidate. So he's made this a big news story by really coming out strongly against it. And I saw a headline that was complaining that the ban on doxing on Twitter means you can't like follow when like local sports teams come to town. And it was the most ridiculous. I mean, well, because they were saying, well, if you can't track the planes, how can you say when like the Knicks are in town? And it's like, this is the dumbest argument. There are a lot of
they have a schedule on NBA.com. Just follow that schedule.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's just rude and petty and mean, and I think your wife picked a good bad trend because it just sums up where we are as a culture. There's no like everybody I disagree with is somebody that I should be mean to or hurt or treat rudely, or it's just nasty stuff.
Jerk culture.
You know what, like
jerk culture, is that what it's called?
Jerk culture is well said. The anonymity of the internet brings out the worst in people.
Yep.
I've encountered Catholics who have said things online that they would really regret. Even making
I've done it.
Was following a couple cases where people made like death threats against congressmen. And it's just like, hey, that's not how to do the pro-life thing well. But it's
I haven't done that. I said I've done it before I knew the whole end of the story. So no, I haven't done that. So
local law enforcement.
They weren't congressmen.
They weren't Congress yet.
So like a lot of that is just bluster. It's people who aren't really thinking about the real person in their end of it.
No.
But with doxing, the danger is like the Kavanaugh thing. Someone actually like came across the country from your beloved state, California.
Oh yeah, they were gonna shoot Kavanaugh.
To try to kill. Yeah. Which is such a. I mean, this isn't the major part of the. What a weird choice of all the people to target there.
Yeah, but then a similar thing happened with somebody in San Francisco with Nancy Pelosi's husband. I guess somebody looking for Nancy. Like, don't do that.
Right.
I don't like. It doesn't matter how you feel. Just don't do that to anybody. Don't. That's awful. Two other trends.
So releasing the personal information of it's bad form.
All right, two other trends, and this is a very general trend, and people express it in different ways. But people have a strong sense that there was a moral decline in the year 2022. That's what people say.
Compared to 2021?
I think it might be I'm sure people feel that as an ongoing thing, but I do think people are like, how is it that so many people would say we are in a state of moral decline, but we seem so powerless to arrest the moral decline? Like if I'm in a personal state of moral decline, which, most days I am, at the end of the week, go to confession. Why as a society can we recognize the fact that we're in a state of moral decline, but we seem so powerless to arrest that decline?
Yeah, I actually don't think, Cy, that our listeners are representative society in this regard, because they use the language of natural law or morals or ethics or however you want to describe it. The world actually today in the main regards evil, insofar as it does regard evil, as sort of a something to be solved with either a scientific or a therapeutic or a political or a technological solution. And we just have to apply the right chemicals and social services, and then everybody's going to live a life free of suffering. So, but evil to them is not a category. It's certainly not a personal category like it is in the Bible, for example. But it's not a personal category for them, and it's not really even a moral category. It's just sort of the bad things that happen to people just because we haven't come up with the right system yet. Or we've come up with the right system. We just haven't applied it yet. That's really what it is.
Right.
Well,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say the other trend that goes with this is, and these are not the same people, but different people will say de-Christianizing or the failure of Christianity, which does seem to be reaching a critical point in the United States. It probably has long passed that point in Europe. But these things are related to one another, certainly.
Absolutely.
The de-Christianizing and dehumanizing and the growth of a dehumanizing morality they go together.
Yeah.
So The Hill, the political paper in D.C., has an article from, this is August of this year. Record percentage says U.S. headed in wrong direction. NBC poll is the name of it. And what it found is that 21% of voters thought the nation was headed in the right direction. 74% of voters thought it was headed in the wrong direction. 58% of voters said they were worried that America's best years may already be behind us. And only 35% thought the best years were yet to come. Those are dire. It's not just like things are in the wrong direction right now,
right?
But that there's a sense in which most Americans think, we might be done. Like this, we're in the declining years. This is the fall, if not the winter. This is not the springtime of the country. That's an alarming kind of stat. Now that's a U.S. specific. It's voters. It's one poll, but I think that it does speak to even people who don't have a language of morality. Even people who can't put a finger on what's wrong. Yeah. I think it's good to know you're not crazy if you think, hey, the Falcon cannot find the Falconer. Like we're spinning out of control, and it seems like
the center cannot hold
every hour. Yeah, exactly.
one of the greatest poems of the 20th century. Thank you for quoting it.
There you go, English major again.
Yeah.
I had to do another Falcon one. I got a Maltese Falcon
right.
last hour.
Don't go back to Dashiell Hammett.
No, Yeats. That's more lowbrow, right?
Yeah, kind of actually. Yeah, as a matter of fact. I mean, in some ways, yeah. I think that not enough Christians are making the point to their fellow citizens that you want de-Christianizing, but I don't think it's going to go the way you think it's going to go. Like, we need to make the point, this is not going to work out like you think. Because I think people have the fantasy that it's all going to be like a pride parade or something. We're just all going to be liberated, and that liberation will be kind of this exhilarating thing. It ain't going to be. That's not what happens when you start, openly opposing things like families. And it'll be, many of these institutions have in their mission statements opposing the nuclear family, they'll call it. This is a big thing that's happening. I'm not making this up. So this, opposing Judeo-Christian values, it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go.
So imagine a large room, an auditorium or a gymnasium or something filled with people. They're locked in there, and everyone is out for himself.
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
Yeah.
That's what the world will look like. So if you can imagine the hell that will be, where there's no cooperation, because when we indulge ourselves and continue to turn inwards and not outward, this is where we're headed. Yeah. I was just going to say, for me, it's the continued decline of marriage, or just the absence of marriage. It's just non-marriage.
Right.
You can't have society without marriage. There was actually a time in history where we had society without the Catholic Church, but you can't have it without marriage. The other one is the number of kids who are being raised by a screen right now.
Yeah, these are very good, Chris. And let me ask you this, and then I'll go to the break and we'll do the positive trend. Because of what you just said, that kids being raised by screens and
these are related, by the way. The fact that kids are being raised by screens is contributing to the fact of non-marriage,
and vice versa as well.
Yeah.
But what I want to ask you is the failure of marriage, which is something that far predates the coming of Christ in the world. That this was a good that secured the goods of society long before the coming of Christ, and this technological revolution we've been through. In many ways, would you say a post-Christian world is more dangerous than a pre-Christian world? Would you both agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the natural level. I mean, there's always, of course, there's room for the action of grace and supernatural activity. So in a sense, there's more hope now than there was before the incarnation. I think Joe may correct me if I made a theological error there. But yeah, certainly at the natural level, it's going to be terrifying. It is going to be terrifying.
Right. All this transhumanism.
And yet there's going to be a lot of hope.
Yeah.
St. Paul says so. Grace is abundant when it's most needed. It's in the Bible.
All right. Did you want to say anything about the post-Christianism?
Well, yeah, I've got a few things. We can wait till after if
Oh,
that's
if you got
better.
a few, let's
I was
do
gonna
that.
Say, well, I mean, one thing, Hebrews 6 has that famous line about those who fall away. You
They're
can't
worse off.
re-crucify Christ. And so, and St. Peter in 2 Peter 2 talks about those who've been ransomed by Christ and turn their back on him. He says they're worse off. And I think the point
And
is
Christ talks about the person who expels the 7 demons, and then or expels the demon, and then 7 come back. Yeah, so in a certain way, that's what Christianity is an exorcism for the world. And if the world opens itself up to the demons again, more will come.
Yeah, and so, the person who's never heard of Christ, you just think, well, maybe if once they hear of Jesus Christ, they'll change their life. The person who's heard of him and rejected him, that's more alarming because you think, well, what hope is there left? No, it's not literally. Some people have taken Hebrews 6 to literally mean like if you've ever apostatized, there's no hope for you, and that's not what he's saying. Because grace is abundant, but it is harder to see how that person comes to repentance. It's harder to see, what is it that's going to flip that switch that gets them to come home.
We'll finish up with a negative trend very quickly and then go right on to positive trend of the year from our listeners in our big end of the year survey right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Your questions, Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Merry Christmas on this sixth day of Christmas. I'll give it to you again, the clue for shop.catholic.com. If you're like, I just got home, I want to go on shop.catholic.com and see if I can get one of those 5 free books they're giving away. When you find this clue, just use it to get yourself a free book. If there's 5 of them, if you're one of the first 5 that gets there. O come, the faithful praying, the serpent spies, 6 geese a-laying. If you can find an image that reminds you of that clue, you probably found yourself a free book. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check, our guests. This is our big end of the year show, and the way we do it is we ask our listeners, our Radio Club listeners and our Society 315 members, what the big stories of the year, the big persons of the year, the events, whatnot, TV shows, movies, all that, and then we share it on the air. Right now we are in the midst of the negative trend of the year. Was there another point you wanted to make, Joe?
Well, so Jack may have to tune this out since he hates literary references, but
we're going to just get it down to like Jack hates reading. Jack hates literature.
Yeah, exactly. Jack the illiterate.
Yeah.
Just like does AV and not anything that involves like the written word. Jack's actually been super helpful on the podcast I do, by the way, so I don't want to tick him off too much. But there's 2 lines. Dostoevsky said, "If God is dead, all things are permitted." Yeah. And it's meant to highlight this thing that it sounds like radical freedom, but if you actually read the work in which that comes, you'll see, without spoiling too much, that those all things might be really horrible, dastardly things. And he is playing, I think, pretty intentionally on the idea of Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche has that famous line, "God is dead." And so you'll sometimes see like atheists with like that as a t-shirt or something where they're like, yeah, that's a cool slogan, God is dead. But Nietzsche does not mean like, hooray, God is dead. Nietzsche is an atheist, but he's extremely unhappy about his atheism. Yeah. He is terrified by the prospect that God is dead. His exact words, this is in The Gay Science, it's not like that. He says, God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. How can we console ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? The holiest and the mightiest thing the world has ever possessed has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood from? With what water could we clean ourselves? It's a really kind of ominous kind of portent, partly because Nietzsche ends up saying, well, we need to become godlike ourselves. And he has this idea of the Übermensch, like, well, if God is dead, then we need to become gods. And there was a political party in Germany that tried to live this out, and the rest is history.
They were a political party at one time. And that now Nietzsche, I just want to say this in his defense, would not have been a Nazi, but
his sister would have, and she's the one who interprets a lot of his stuff.
She would have been a Nazi?
A lot of the. Well, I mean, Hitler got a collection of Nietzsche's works for his birthday. Like, he was a fanatical Nietzsche.
Happy birthday, God is dead. That's a terrible present. That's the worst birthday present ever.
This is Hitler. You know, I don't feel bad about him getting a bad birthday present.
Well, maybe things would have gone differently if he got a train set. But the
art supplies.
Yeah, Nietzsche's the bleakness of Nietzsche and his various attempts to remedy that by creating meaning that has so many fans in the modern world. Utterly deluded. Nietzsche is not one of the good guys of history. We have to stop that. Nietzsche's critiques are very are helpful. Nietzsche's prescriptions are devastatingly horrible.
So I think what we've seen here is a devolution, if that's the word, or a progress in the wrong direction. Where even in the time of Nietzsche, there was some thought that was put into this question, and yet now we have a brand of unbelief that is just so boring.
Just stupid unbelief.
It's just so boring.
Yeah.
It's just I don't care unbelief.
Yeah. No, but even in some cases, not even I don't care. I'm not even aware of that element of the world. It's not even in my everyday world to think in that way. That, I think, is a real robbery. I don't blame that. Often it's, a kid, in teens or 20s, and that person got no love at home, never experienced any kind of religious community. No one ever told this person about God. It's not their fault that they're in this position, but they are utterly separated from even the consideration of those things.
This is a cohort that we're going to address and give people, I hope, the means to speak to at our conference in September featuring Cardinal George Pell. But it's called I Believe in God is the conference. Just the growing number of people who don't believe and don't care that they don't believe.
Yeah, right.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, so this crisis of meaninglessness, I actually have an episode of my new podcast, Shameless Potpourri, that covers this.
ShamelessJoe.com. Always say the website, Joe. Always say the website.
Okay.
ShamelessJoe.com.
That's what you're there for.
Oh, that's true.
Well, now we know why you're here. Sorry.
Well, we found a reason.
One of the things I point out, so President Obama, one of the books he recommended people read was Yuval Noah Harari's book, *Sapiens*. It's supposed to be like a macro-level history of the entire human species. And one of the things Harari says is that life is meaningless and that any attempt to find meaning is just delusional. And he says our medieval ancestors were happy because they found meaning to life in collective delusions about the afterlife. And he said from a scientific point of view, human life has absolutely no meaning. And he says any meaning that people ascribe to their lives is just a delusion. He said the otherworldly meanings medieval people found in their lives were no more deluded than the modern humanist, nationalist, and capitalist meanings modern people find. The scientist who says her life is meaningful because she increases the store of human knowledge, the soldier who declares his life is meaningful because he fights to defend his homeland, and the entrepreneur who finds meaning in building a new company are no less delusional than their medieval counterparts who found meaning in reading scripture, going on a crusade, or building a new cathedral. So
that is what this. That's the end. That's the end of the world. Like, you cannot live that way.
What is this called? It's not even nihilism. What do you?
It is a kind of nihilism. It's scientistic
It's an utter
nihilism.
It's. I mean, because what it does is it hammers home something correct. Like, if you think all truth comes through one end of a microscope or a telescope, you're going to find that life is utterly meaningless. Because you can't explain why it's important to look through a microscope or a telescope, because you're not going to find the answer to that question at the other end. If every bit of truth has to be scientific truth, then should we have science is not a question science can answer.
These kinds of philosophical systems they don't bear any scrutiny at all, because first of all, to call something meaningless, something has to be meaningful. Meaningless is the opposite of meaningful. You have to have the meaningfulness in order.
You can't have the deficit without having.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's a guy who has
right. You wouldn't have colorblind as a word if there was no such thing as color.
Right.
Yeah. There'd be no atheists if there were no God. But so this fellow has written a book and describing that everything is meaningless. Of course, and this includes the writing of his book.
Yes, he's written an entire. So I think
his work is meaningless. His own
remedy
work
to this is just eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow we'll die. Like I think someone in Harari's
indulge
position
your
would
passions,
say,
indulge your senses.
yeah, just entertain yourself because your life is meaningless and it can not possibly be meaningful. Any meaning you find for yourself is just delusion. You might as well just watch Netflix. You might as well just do whatever your passion say to do.
Because we're coming up on a hard break, I would like to just affirm for the listener, we disagree with this guy.
Yeah,
I believe we all disagree. Like, well, I think you're giving a good description of what he said, and it is a good description of a sickness that our society is suffering at the moment, a blindness, really, to see the full dimensions of what life is. But up next, Signs of Hope. We'll do Hopeful Trends, according to our listeners, right after this on Catholic Answers Live. The recent decision by the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade was a monumental victory for the pro-life movement. But the fight is far from over. With our new booklet, Why We're Pro-Life, we have produced the perfect tool to prepare you to have peaceful and convincing conversations to shed light on the truth about human life from conception to natural death. Catholic Answers is printing millions of copies of this booklet, and we plan simply to give them away. You can help us in two ways. First, by generously supporting this project. 25 cents prints one book, $2,500 prints 10,000, and so on. Second, by helping us distribute the booklet through your parish, your school, or the pro-life ministry you work with. Catholic Answers is going to blanket the country with why we're pro-life, but only if you step up and help us. Thank you so much. For more information, visit whyweareprolife.com.
Want to know more about the origins of the Catholic Church? Joe Heschmeyer explores the beginnings of Christianity. In the early church was the Catholic Church. Joe digs deep into the words and actions of those who lived right after the apostles to refute anti-Catholic claims of how the faith was lived back then. Order your copy of The Early Church Was the Catholic Church today at shop.catholic.com or get it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
As Catholic apologetics have gotten stronger, Protestant responses have gotten stronger as well. And now they have their own answers to rebut the standard Catholic proofs. Don't fret, we've got you covered. In his new book, Meeting the Protestant Response, apologist Carlo Broussard gives well-reasoned biblical answers to Protestant comebacks. Order your copy of Meeting the Protestant Response today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Got to keep it moving now, fellas, because we got important categories to get to. Each year, at the end of the year, Catholic Answers sends out a survey to our Radio Club listeners and to the members of Society 315, and we ask them to tell us what are the big stories, who are the important movers and shakers of the year, what are the important films, the trends, all that stuff. And we just did the negative trends. And these, I must say,
I'm wearing my Society 315 shirt.
I was wondering why you're taking your shirt off.
Underneath my flannel.
Button back up. Here.
Well, no, I mean, I just want people to know they get the T-shirt if they join.
I just had a horrible gag reflex. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Man.
I'm sorry.
My pecs.
And now we'll do some positive trends of the year. How about that? How about positive trends of the year? And again, these are hundreds of people respond to the survey, and the answers are so varied that it's impossible to organize them. So I just try to give you there's a lot of people that said this or a lot of people that said that. I will say this positive trend of the year. I love these type of answers, so I'm going to share it with you. Positive trend of the year: Archbishop Vigano. I don't know how he's a trend, but okay.
I'm not sure that trend is going anywhere.
No.
Well, people can vote whatever they want. I just think it's funny that negative trend of the year: Germany. Positive trend: Archbishop Vigano. Well, these are not trends.
It's not a good trend, independent of our opinion of the things that Archbishop Vigano says, or it's not a good trend that an archbishop of the Catholic Church is in hiding somewhere.
Oh, is he still in hiding?
Yes.
You guys follow the news. I really should follow
that's
the news.
not a good trend. Independent of the dubious things that he's been saying, let's be blunt.
Including calling into question whether Pope Francis is the real Pope.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with that listener
as a positive trend,
at the risk of alienating a listener.
Well, here's another
revisit that one, my friend, please.
Here's two that seem so far afield from one another, but they got several votes each. So I'll tell you both of them. The growth of the church in Africa. Several people, unbidden, chose that, and several other people. Elon Musk taking over Twitter. Like these are.
Those are a world apart.
We have a very various listening audience. That's I don't know if you can say very
well.
Various,
here comes everybody, as Joe said last time.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on either of those?
I didn't.
I don't.
Yeah, those are really interesting ones. I think Musk taking over Twitter has been really. I guess I'd say this. I get the appeal of sort of spite personae, meaning this, like when you have an obnoxious edifice of like smug liberals, to see someone who's very rich and powerful come along and just like knock that down, like Musk did with Twitter.
Oh yeah,
can be really exciting. But be really cautious about supporting the rock through the window, because it may not be that good itself. Musk dressing up as like the Antichrist for Halloween, and just like those kind of things, you're just like, hey, maybe this guy isn't someone we should have as like a Catholic folk hero.
How do you guys know all this news? Musk dressed up as the Antichrist for Halloween?
Know that.
He had like an upside down cross and like a bizarre gladiator type.
No, that's
no. It's not like a St. Peter's cross.
That's not a funny joke.
He plays around with this stuff. The transhumanism. He's one of the major drivers for this. Like the enemies of Elon Musk are in many cases enemies of the Catholic Church in some way. Although Christ died for them, so we don't want to dehumanize them. But the things Musk stands for, in other words, like we have much more in common in what we oppose than what we have in common. And so I just would have a word of caution for like getting totally on the Musk bus.
So I think people on the right make the same mistake as the people on the left, thinking, as I said in the previous segment, that the solution to our world's ills are going to come from a therapeutic or a political or a technical solution. And who owns Twitter is not going to have anything to do with whether this thing is going to be saved or not, much less whether you individually are going to be saved.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
this is actually. I want to lean into this point because I think this is something that we
in
should.
fact, can I wait? But I want to hear what you have to say, Joe. But I want to finish my thought here. I want to say your likelihood of being saved is probably going to be improved if you just shut down your Twitter.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right to me.
Yeah.
All right, one of us wants to hear what you have to say, Joe. Go ahead.
No, I do too,
okay.
Joe.
Christ comes in weakness, and weak.
No, Sai also wants to hear what you
Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Next topic.
Christ comes in weakness, and we keep wanting to find solutions through the worldly mechanisms of power.
Yep.
And I think this has been a mistake since Constantine, and I think it's a mistake that we continue to use, whether it's Musk, whether it's... I mean, look, for a long time, the pro-life movement sort of had this idea that if only we could overturn Roe v. Wade, then we'll have won.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this year shows that wasn't true.
Right.
We overturned Roe v. Wade, and there are some better pro-life laws in a handful of states. But now, instead of trying to convince 9 people, we have to convince a few hundred million that abortion is wrong. And that's, in a way, like we've just shown, like, oh yeah, when you focus on like the big, those powers that be, you can forget that the real avenues of change that most of us are called to like make a difference for the gospel are right there in front of us. And so speaking to your neighbor about the truth of Jesus Christ is way more important than carefully following what latest news is out of Twitter, or the Supreme Court, or the White House, or Congress, or fill in the blank. And the worst place we can end up in a lot of ways is to think that the way I make a difference for Christ is every 4 years voting for a candidate that's like slightly less horrible than the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put not your trust in princes and the children of men in whom there's no salvation, said a great poet once.
Let me give you a couple more trends that people said.
Faulkner, right?
That was not Faulkner. A couple more trends. Quite a few people did say more states outlawing abortion or the advances of the pro-life movement. Quite a few people also said the Eucharistic revival or Eucharistic renewal or things along those lines. So those were all also positive trends. Any comments on those, or shall I go on? Because I got more.
If we had widespread...
I would throw out a different one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I was going to go a different direction completely and go with micro donations. Like, one of the cool things about the interconnectedness we have...
I thought he was going to say microdosing.
That was none of our listeners picked that. Not a single listener picked microdosing.
That's crazy. And those listeners could not find the keyboard to use.
I know they don't know how to use a computer anymore. All right, Joe.
Well, you started with
microdonations.
Like if you've got a family tragedy and you go online, strangers from around the world will like throw money to help your problem, and it's actually a really cool trend. Like I think it's something that's really nice. It humanizes these person-to-person connections across the world that it was very difficult to do in the past. And it resolves a little bit of the problem of what's sometimes been called telescopic charity, that you just write a check for someone around the world and you think that does your Christian duty.
This is Jellyby.
Human, it's more incarnation. Exactly.
Yep.
That's a
Dickens
reference. I'm sorry. Yeah. But you're having things like GoFundMe, having things like those kind of things. And one area where we don't want to just be totally bullish on the internet is, it allows people to be connected in this new way. We're the body of Christ in an intercontinental way.
Bullish is positive. You said we don't want to be bullish.
Oh yeah, sorry, bearish.
We do want to be. Yeah.
I was thinking about the wrong direction for the animal. Yeah. So yeah, it's. I think in that way there are some real silver linings that we don't want to overlook.
Eucharistic revival is extremely important. If we had widespread belief in the real presence among Catholics, we wouldn't be killing babies in this country. That's a fact.
Yes.
I think you're exactly right about that. I'll give you one more trend that this is only one person mentioned.
Can you share that story you shared with me on the phone yesterday, Joe, or the edited version thereof?
No, I'm going to have – there's a heavily edited version that's going to appear in my new book on the Eucharist. I have an exciting story about a transformation involving belief in the Eucharist, but the person involved in the story was a spy, and so I'm having to go through a few rounds of editing to make sure we don't accidentally release like state secrets or get anybody exposed to danger. So we'll hold that thought. Read my book when it comes out this spring on the
Eucharist.
This
story is
if this has anything to do with Julius and Ethel, I really want to hear this, how this turns out.
I'm just going to tell you this story is worth the price of the book, even if the rest of the book stinks.
And it won't, because it's a Joe Heschmeyer book. It will not.
Yeah.
One person said this as their positive trend of the year. It was only one person, but I'll share it to you before we go to the break, and then we'll come back from the break with the story of the year.
Oh, we don't get to share our positive trends?
What is the news story of the year? You can do it after we come back from the break. All right. This person said, 1 year closer to the second coming. Right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. Catholic Answers Live will return in a moment.
St. John Paul II stated that, for the disciple of Christ, evangelization is a duty, an obligation of love, and the Catechism of the Catholic Church states that evangelization is necessary for salvation.
So we know we're called, but how do we do it?
St. Paul Street Evangelization can help. To learn more, contact us at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
If you have a few minutes a day, you can become an EWTN media missionary in your parish, in your community, or through prayer. Be a part of Mother Angelica's mission. Place your gifts and strengths in service to Christ and His Church by volunteering your time and sharing the eternal Word with the world. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com today. EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Merry 6th day of Christmas. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check here. with us. One negative trend I would like to point out is Joe and Chris are so comfortable now doing the show that I have absolutely no control over it at all. I see that as a negative trend. Somebody was going to say something. Oh, you wanted to share your positive trend of the year, Chris.
I think that there are some conversations underway that are very, very hopeful. One is conversation, maybe the wrong word. One is the sort of journalism that our friends J.D. Flynn and Ed Condon are doing over at The Pillar. And they are shining a light on corruption in the church where they see it in an honest journalism way, not a yellow journalism way. And I think that those two guys are doing a great deal for the reform of the church, much more than large institutions that are making the claim.
Well, can I just add to that? Because most of the Catholic kind of online professionals, who are making a living doing their podcast or whatnot, their basic mode of operating is, we don't have all the facts, but here's my opinion. And with JD and the whole thing at Pillar Catholic, it's just the opposite.
Well,
here's the facts.
Go take a look.
Here's the facts that we know.
Right. Go take a look at that story that they did recently on Archbishop Paglia, and it's not a happy story, but it does need to be exposed. And they spent months gathering the data for that story. So you're absolutely right. The other thing, and it is a conversation that interests me a great deal, and I know that it's growing, and it's not just 2022, but it's the work of the Catholic integralists, and my friends, especially Jacob Imam and Mark Barnes at New Polity magazine. These guys, among others, have made the recognition that the whole effort to square liberalism, classical liberalism, whatever you want to call it, with the gospel has been a failure. And especially that argument that that's what America did well. Now we know that doesn't work. And the work that those guys at New Polity and the other integralists are doing, I think, is a very interesting intellectual trend in political theory, political, social, religious theory.
This level of conversation that's happening between the integralists and
is that how you say integralists or integralists?
I don't know, but this is why you should be Catholic, because these conversations are like, even the people I disagree with are arguing and considering how to live as Christians in the world at a level that, I'm sorry, it's not going on anywhere else. It makes you so proud to be Catholic.
The Lamp is another good publication in this regard. I recommend.
Yeah, but I mean, First Things would take a kind of opposite position, I think, from the Lamp in general. But the work they do is very high level stuff, and I think nothing but good can come from this.
Sohrab Ahmari, I'm blanking on the name of his new journal. But
right. Talk about a negative tweeter, though.
Slavoj
Holy
Žižek.
smokes.
Yeah, I don't follow his Twitter.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But
I think the New Polity guys are closer to it. But yeah, Sohrab has assembled a good crowd there.
Yeah, I guess what I'm seeing, and maybe just to draw
he
your
stole
point
somebody
with the
from
integralists
First
and
Things.
make it.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh.
Sorry, with your point.
Well, I was going to say more broadly, we talked earlier with the negative trends that people think the country's going in the wrong direction. The advantage to that is that it opens people up to new ideas. And a lot of those new ideas are bad, but at least people are starting to. And I mean, like, if you look at the success of the Trump campaign, the popularity of Bernie Sanders' campaign, these would have been unthinkable a generation ago. And so it speaks to, if nothing else, that ordinary Americans are saying, the standard two-party solution has not gotten us the results we wanted, and we don't trust it's going to get us the results we want in the near term.
Yeah.
We don't know what we do want, but we know we want something different. And so as Catholics, what they want is ultimately not a political candidate or a political agenda or even a social structure. What they want is Jesus Christ and in a world that more closely resembles what Christ has to offer. And so I think that regardless of the big picture kind of solutions, I'm really excited to see people having those deeper.
Me too, Joe.
Maybe this isn't going well kind of conversations,
right?
Because I think there's a real opportunity to present the gospel in those ways, in those contexts.
Yes,
and sometimes like you said, not all the ideas are going to be good, but what comes out of that? When you have a moment like this of genuine intellectual ferment around a very important issue, is what is the Catholic way to be a citizen? What is the Catholic understanding of states? And what is the Catholic role in history, both secular and religious? These are big, important ideas that are being thought of and reevaluated in ways that it's been centuries since we've had this depth of conversation about them, and it's really good stuff. And I always recommend that people start with Patrick Deneen's book, The End of Liberalism. I think it's a great place to start.
I agree.
To see what's
another
at
of
stake.
Obama's books of the year. In addition, we mentioned one of them earlier with Species. This was another one.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to agree with everything Patrick Deneen says. But the start or another one, George Weigel, writing in almost exact opposite take. But you start to get a sense of what's at stake with the Courtney Murray. What's it?
Courtney
Murray.
John Courtney Murray.
John Courtney Murray. I don't know why I had George in my head. John Courtney Murray, and then what the Second Vatican Council had to say. Even the St. Pius X Society has very interesting thinkers on these issues. I mean, a lot of great stuff is happening, and I wish people would expose themselves to it.
Why'd you say even?
What?
Even the Pius X Society.
Well, because I don't agree with their position.
They have irregular canonical status.
Yeah, right. And so
but it's getting resolved.
Everyone else I mentioned, from Patrick Deneen to George Weigel, are all in a. I don't know about Sohrab Ahmari. I think it might be irregular.
He's a convert to Catholicism.
Yeah, from Islam.
Yeah, but I know his Twitter might be disqualified. No, I'm kidding, but that's why I said that about St. Pius Society, because they're on the.
They were very level-headed, by the way, on the COVID, on the vaccine.
Some beautiful stuff.
It's actually there's very good theology you'll find in Angelus Magazine.
All right, I want to do a story of the year now. It's the big one, the big story of the year. I don't want you to guess, because if you guess, you're going to get it right. It's so obvious what a Catholic audience.
The Russia-Ukraine war?
No.
I mean, that seems like a pretty major, but okay.
That's a distant second. But thank you. You came at number 2.
It's the Dobbs decision.
Of course. It's Roe versus Wade being overturned with more than 50% of the votes. It was the highest vote getter in any category that we had. And that is the story of the year, without question.
It wasn't the January 6th the hearings on January 6th.
You know what? Nobody even
keep
picked
going
that.
Don't take that bait.
No one even picked that. I mean, there was one person who picked what I thought was the story of the year, but only one person got it. Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars. That seemed to me that was story of the year. You guys didn't feel that?
That was this year?
That's a good point.
That's a good point, Joe says. Thank you, Joe, for that.
His hand was upon this rock.
Oh, stop it. Does that mean by the end? By the way, is that the end of a career if you do that, or can you still have a career after that?
No, he's still going to have a career.
I
mean, he was applauded afterwards. He was feted in an after party. They don't care.
You could commit assault and battery on national TV of a
you're
lovely
the right
person.
Look, the fascinating thing about Hollywood is it combines all the worst elements of liberalism and libertarianism in one place.
Yeah.
And if you can bring in money, there's absolutely no moral code that applies.
Probably his capital went up.
Look, I don't really believe in canceling people and all that, so I don't want to be too negative about it, but that really probably should be a career ender. I mean,
Harvey Weinstein had a long and illustrious career in Hollywood, and it was no secret that he was an absolute predator. If you make money, if you are successful in your art form, they'll allow anything to happen. And so that is what makes the whole cancellation for smaller offenses. So, Will Smith, and so he will have a career as long as ordinary Americans decide to go to movies that he's in.
But do you have to do the interview where you go on Oprah and cry or something and talk about how I've gone to rehab for slap rehab or something like that? And
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, slap rehab. That's a big thing for people who slap too much.
Enough coverage that people can say, "Oh, well, he changed his ways," because it's all. Look, the point of that is not to authentically convince people that he didn't mean to do it. The point of that is to let people who want to go to his movies feel okay about going to his movies. This is what we said in the last hour.
I see.
Chris was saying there are some people who are so odious in terms of their morality that
the harm that they've done.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so But where you draw that line, like, do you see Taxi Driver knowing Roman Polanski directed it? Like, do you know, like,
it is a brilliant movie.
Chinatown, better.
Yeah. Chinatown. Sorry.
Chinatown's better.
By the way, it's Scorsese.
Yeah, that was Scorsese.
Scorsese did Taxi
No,
Driver.
you can't see it. He's so horrible, you can't see any Scorsese movies.
Actually, I don't.
I'm only kidding. I don't know.
Talented filmmaker.
I'm just messing.
Another ex-seminarian.
Yeah. Is he an ex-seminarian?
I think so. He at least discerned priesthood.
You can see all the Frank Capra and John Ford movies that you want to see.
Really?
I give everyone permission. Yep. Two great Catholic directors. Two greatest American directors.
John Wayne allegedly became a Catholic on his deathbed. So
his son is a priest,
that,
right?
That is grandson.
Yeah. Grandson.
Yep.
Yeah.
George Washington allegedly on his deathbed.
I want to write.
It's shrouded in the mist of history.
That is shrouded. There we go. We're back to the mists of history with Chris. But you know what? Somebody's got to write a book on the people who converted to Catholicism on their deathbed.
Oscar Wilde.
Jean-Paul Sartre.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Not even on his deathbed. 2 weeks or 3 weeks before he died.
I think Wilde was a couple days before.
Never heard that.
Who's the guy that in Bloody Kansas? What's the guy that the Quantrill?
He died a Catholic.
He died a Catholic. He got shot.
Fascinating.
He got shot up and he was dying in Tennessee, and a Catholic priest started talking to him, and he received the sacraments before he died. Somebody's got to write a book about these
I hope Catholic priests listening to this just start going to hospitals and just randomly dropping in on people and be like, "You want to become Catholic?"
Yeah.
Because there's so many stories that this works a shocking number of times.
My brother was in a hospital making a Eucharistic call, and walking out of the hospital, he gets a call from someone in another room, and he says, "Father, can you come in?" And he goes in, and the fella says, "Are you a Catholic priest?" He says, "I am." He says, "I haven't been to confession in 50 years. And my brother says, "That's why I'm here."
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
And priests do that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
relatedly, but wedding rehearsals, that's a great time to hear confessions. And if you set up confessions an hour before a wedding, I've been told that people who would not come to confession normally, who don't normally go to church, will be like, "Oh, well, might as well go to confession while I'm here."
Joe, you and I were having dinner in Kansas City with my brother. He'd just been to a funeral and heard confessions for a couple hours after the funeral.
Yeah. Let people
or
think
at the
about
wake, or one of them,
issues. And look, there are some people who only go to church for weddings and funerals. If you make it really easy to go to confession there, that's enough for some people, and it makes a big difference. I think this is something we don't give enough credit to, that life or death decisions are often spur of the moment for ordinary people.
Yeah.
It
reminds me of a story about Cardinal Mahoney, the much maligned Cardinal Mahoney, up in Los Angeles. But he did a thing that I thought was just brilliant. When Frank Sinatra was dying, he went over to Frank Sinatra's house, rang the doorbell, and said he wanted to see Frank. He's the Archbishop, so he goes in and he says to him, "I think it's time for you to make your confession." Frank Sinatra made his confession to him before he died.
Yeah.
So that's what priests do. I know that the priests are heroes, and so often they do these things. I have to tell you, one of the things that really impressed me about COVID was even when bishops were saying, "You can't do this, you can't do that," how many priests just said, "I have to give this person the last rites. I have to." And they went around the curtain or whatever was between them. They went in, they walked into the room, and they just did it. And I don't know how we ended up celebrating Catholic priests as the last thing we do this year on Catholic Answers, but I'm going to say it was the Holy Spirit. So come, Holy Spirit, and thank you, and God bless you to all those wonderful priests who do that day in and day out, all around the world,
especially those forgiving sins. On a time other than Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, right.
Yes, Saturday afternoon from 3 to 4. If that's when your confessions are, get some new and better times.
Sai, can I just say thank you to all of our supporters who've been so generous to us this year?
Yes,
and if you're not one of them, GiveCatholic.com.
GiveCatholic.com.
And I want to say thank you to the great staff of Catholic Answers. We have an amazing staff here, and a lot of them,
Jack
and Jack included.
Oh,
and a lot of them, my friends, you don't know. But without their courageous work and joyful work, the famous people like Joe and Cy.
But let me just say something. In the morning, praying the rosary, the women from the customer service, they pray for all of our listeners, all the intentions of our listeners and our supporters.
Amen.
And so every morning you get in a rosary.
Catholics of the Year.
I love my staff.
Okay, they win it. All right.
Catholic Answer staff.
The Catholic. See you next year, God willing, right here. Catholic Answers Live.